Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Travis Hurley. They mentioned the Navy. I'm a reserve chaplain, and the Navy serves the Marines and the Coast Guard as well, and I've got a Marine unit that I'm now attached to, and we have a call every Tuesday, the first Tuesday of the month, and so that's at 7 o'clock, so I got to wrap up before then. I'm sure you prefer I wrap up even sooner than 7, so you have other things to do. I just want to take a few minutes of your time. How many of you already know who or what Water Gardens is? That's going to save us some time right there, okay? I'll do a brief recap, and then from there, I actually want to address some of the rumors and misinformation that is out there. When I came back to the States in January, I was deployed in 2022 to Europe. I came back in January, and I had several people come to me and say, hey, we're hearing some strange things about the homelessness situation in Joplin and Water Gardens' part in it. And I said, really? And I started tracking, and I kept hearing the same things for several months. So I actually created a handout. It's kind of a fact sheet, and there's a typo on it, which is great. So I've got an error on my fact sheet. I'll correct that for you as I go through it. And then I brought some, so you can take one with you. It's also can be found on the website, and it'll be in the Globe soon. We're trying to just dispel some bad information, give some good information. And if you get familiar with this, you can be an advocate for us as you hear some of these things expressed. But I will just start by saying Water Gardens' mission statement is we exist to serve the church in its mission to help the poor and homeless in Jesus' name. And so a lot of people think Water Gardens exists to serve the poor. We said, no, it's the job of God's people to serve. And we want to be a place where you can do that effectively. Because compassion that is misdirected can cause more harm. And there are a lot of books out there that teach that. There's one called When Helping Hurts. There's another one called Toxic Charity. There's one called The Tragedy of American Compassion. And these all explain philosophically how bad charity keeps people trapped in dependency. Water Gardens used to be a model of bad charity. James and Marcia Whitford founded this ministry in 2000, and they would tell you for the first several years, they had a lot of compassion, and they were getting burnt out because they weren't helping people. They were only putting Band-Aids on deeper issues, kicking the can down the street to next month where they would come back with the same need. So they changed their philosophy, they changed their model, and it's based on 3 core principles. That you be privately funded. So Water Gardens has never accepted a government dollar. We rely wholly on the free will, generous donations of individuals, churches, businesses, foundations, organizations like yourself. The second thing is to have an exchange element to your ministry. So it's the belief that when someone comes to you in need, they also have something to offer. And rather than have a dysfunctional view of someone as only being in need, you ask, what is it that you have to contribute? So that you can rise up out of your situation, and we'll come alongside and help you do that. But we're not just going to keep handing you things as if you're helpless. No one is. The third thing is to measure your outcomes. Don't just measure how much food you give or how many nights of shelter you provide, but how many people who came to you last year for food didn't need to come this year because they're in a better situation. How many people who stayed in shelter last year didn't come back because they have their own place to live. So that's outcomes, and we measure 3 of them: character, career, and connection. We want to see people break addictions, get back into relationship with God. That's character. We want to see people rebuild the relationships that are healthy in their life. Family, friends, church, that's connection. In career, we want to see people who don't have a job have that renewed sense of purpose and guiding. We've got 4 campuses in Joplin. It's crazy to me, no matter how many times we talk about them, we brand them all the same, I still have people go, wait, Washington Family Hope Center that's you guys? Yes, that's our newest campus. It's for moms and kids. It's over at the old Washington Elementary School building. We renovated the first floor in 2020. We just finished the renovation of the second floor this year. We'll be providing more shelter family units in that upstairs starting in 2024. That's for moms and young kids. The Forge campus, that's you guys? Yes, that's over on 15th Street, next to the Dollar General. There on the north side of the street, 705, right? That's our long-term recovery program for men. We bring guys in on a regular basis. They move through a 16 to 18-month program, and those who graduate are off of all government assistance. They're free of addiction. They have a full-time job. They have their own place to live. They're active in the local church. That saves each time someone moves off of government assistance It can save a community between $30,000 and $40,000 a year in services. Imagine taking a guy off of that and having them off the rest of their life. And it costs between $5,000 and $10,000 to move a guy through the program. The ROI is huge at Forge. We need more people to support that endeavor, so I want you to know about that. The Worth Shop, 513 South Grand. That's you guys? Yeah, we don't have too many people that question that because it's right behind our main building on 531 Kentucky. The Worth Shop is where people work in exchange for what they need. We have a recycling area, a crafting area. We have goods that are produced and sold at market to help offset the cost of that campus. In the front of it is a garden exchange. That's our thrift store. You can pay, or if you don't have money, you can work. Everything is in addition to a price tag, there's a timestamp. So people who maybe have a full-time job, they're just having trouble making ends meet, they can come, and it's during the day, or there's one night a month where they can come and they can work in exchange for what they need, meet with the care team, that sort of thing. We also have a mission market. That's our food grocery store. It used to be a pantry, but now it's a market. People can shop for what they need, whether it's frozen, refrigerated, dry goods, fruits and vegetables, and they can work in exchange if they don't have money. It's okay. That's an opportunity for people to feel human again. That's literally what someone said to us most recently. I feel useful. Thank you for the opportunity to earn what I need. Now that mission market is inside of our outreach center. That's our main building, 531 Kentucky. It used to be that was the only campus. We now have 4, as I've mentioned. We also have that national initiative you may have heard of called True Charity. This is where we take those 3 principles of being privately funded, outcome-oriented, and exchange-oriented, outcome-driven, right? Those 3 principles are now being applied by organizations and ministries and churches all over the country. We launched the network in 2020. There's over 170 member organizations in 30 states. And I mentioned we're not marketing around the world, but we have an organization in Romania and one in Australia that found us and said, hey, we want to learn more about how to do this the way you guys are doing. So there's a great model for how to minister to the homeless at Water Gardens. And then there are organizations all over the world we're having a chance to influence that way. Now all that said, let me briefly run through these rumors. Last time I did this, I said, how many of you heard this rumor? And no one raised their hand on 6 out of the 7. So I wasn't sure if I was dispelling rumors or creating them, right? So we'll see how it is with you guys. How many of you heard that nonprofit organizations in Joplin are advertising in other states, using billboards to encourage the homeless to come to Joplin? You've heard that. You've heard that. Okay. I wish the answer, I could just almost, with every one of these questions, you just said no, it would have been a lot quicker. You'd be eating a lot faster and networking sooner. Let me explain though, okay? Here's the answer to that one. Water Gardens has only ever advertised in Joplin. Have you seen any of our billboards? I hope so. We do billboards, we do television PSAs, we do radio ads. All of these advertising efforts are not to say, hey, poor and homeless, come to Water Gardens. Every one of those are directed to educate the community. We encourage this community to stop doing handouts. If you see someone on a street corner panhandling, don't give them money. Every study will tell you 9 out of 10 are feeding an addiction. And you wouldn't reach out the window and hand somebody drugs, I hope. But if you hand them money, it makes you feel better in the moment, but you're only perpetuating a deeper problem. So we tell people, roll down your window and crawl out of it. And if you don't have time to do that, send them somewhere where someone will build a relationship you don't have time to build in that moment. That's Water Gardens. But that's not the end of it. Don't just hand them a card that says, hey, Water Gardens can help you. When you do have time, be a volunteer. You're good? Here's an example of a volunteer ready to serve. No, thank you. But we need people willing to volunteer across all of our campuses. We have 1,000 shifts every month that are being filled, right? So we could use your support in that way. You can go to watergardens.org. There's a big volunteer tab. Give basic information, name, number, church you're part of, email address. Our recruiter will reach out. We'll match up what your interests are, what your availability is, with what our needs are. There's no further commitment than just willingness to have a conversation by going to that page, all right? It is important, we believe, for our community to understand the harmful, unintended consequences of giving money to people who are panhandling. And it's essential that we learn true poverty is not a lack of stuff, it's a lack of healthy relationships. How about this one? Have you heard that the homeless and poor from other communities are bussed in by the nonprofit organizations? Yeah, okay, you've heard. Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not starting rumors tonight. Let me just assure you, Water Gardens does not bus in the homeless and the poor. We are not looking for more people to serve. We are trying to work ourselves out of jobs, right? And we are so, I don't want to say busy. We are very much, we have plenty to do. That's a way to, I'll say it very healthily there, right? So much so that we have our day outreach services at the main center are only open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Wednesday is a day that we close because we have to kind of regroup for the second half of the week. This is challenging work, and our beds are full almost every night. We're not trying to find more. Does that mean there aren't people being bussed into our community? I'm not saying that, because I've had people from area churches say, I've seen buses pull in and drop people off. I don't know who's doing it. I don't know where they're coming from. I just want you to know Water Gardens is not advertising elsewhere, and we're certainly not asking buses to bring folks in, okay? We want to serve locally, and we have a 30-mile radius within which we try to maintain all of our services, okay? People need to be from within 30 miles. Third one, do nonprofits in Joplin provide meals and overnight shelter for people who then are out panhandling on the street corners all day? Not at Water Gardens. If we find out that someone who is staying in our shelter is out panhandling, they are warned and then they are asked to leave. We don't believe someone who is getting meals and shelter and access to everything we provide needs to be on the street corner. What they need to be doing is finding a job. That's what we're encouraging. Okay. Do nonprofit organizations in Joplin discriminate against the LGBTQ community and withhold services from them? Have you heard that one? Okay, I'm glad you haven't heard that one. We do not withhold services from anyone, regardless of age, ethnicity, religion, or sexual identification. The only way someone can find themselves unable to receive services at Water Gardens is if they violate policies that have been designed for the common good and well-being of everyone that's there. Now, we do have a statement of faith. We do have a statement of biblical sexuality, and we do require those that are on staff, those that volunteer, to sign those, that they understand that if you're going to represent the ministry as you're serving here, that this ministry is grounded in biblical teaching, and we want to maintain the Christian identity of our ministry. 3 more. Do nonprofit organizations in Joplin assist the poor and homeless in obtaining necessary identification, like driver's license, social security card, so that they can maximize available government benefits that are then used to fund the organization itself? You've heard that one. Okay, good. Water Gardens is one of several organizations that do help the homeless and poor get their necessary identification. This is part of our care coordination effort, where people meet with our care team once a week and they set goals and they meet goals. But those goals and that accountability are designed to help those struggling get into a better position for success. You can't get a job if you don't have identification. That's why we help them get it. Water Gardens, though, is 100% privately funded. As I told you, we rely on generous, freely given support. We've never taken a government dollar, and we certainly would not require it be given to us by proxy from our guests. In fact, our care coordination includes directing guests away from reliance on government and toward a life of self-sufficiency. If you ever want a tour of our outreach center, I'll walk you down the hallway where you'll see our wall of fame. And this is where people who have come in for services have given up their SNAP cards. And they're stapled to that wall because they realize there's a better way, I don't need this. There's nothing, there is not a dime we would take from anyone that comes in our shelter, particularly if we knew it was a dime they'd received from the government. We just do that out of principle because we believe that it's not the role of our government, it's the role of individuals to freely do it, to take care of their fellow man. Number 6, do nonprofit organizations in Joplin impose religion on people by requiring their attendance at chapel and Bible studies in order to receive services? Have you heard that one? They just did that at a town hall meeting a couple weeks ago. I wished I was there. Again, Water Gardens does not require, get this part, first-time guests. Water Gardens does not require first-time guests to attend chapel or any of the Bible studies or Christian programming that we do offer. If someone exits shelter in a manner that does not align with the plan they established with our care coordination team, then, should they request to return, the new plan may include elements of religious instruction. The idea being, you don't have to participate in any of the biblical things we think will help you. But if you bolt after we've been working with you and you decide, I'm going to do things my own way, and then you come back later and go, okay, that didn't work, I want to try again, we may implement some religious instruction as part of that. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay. The last one, do nonprofits in Joplin compel occupants to leave at various times of the day and week, resulting in a homeless occupation of our parks, benches, private businesses, and properties? Well, this one's a little tricky. We're not open 24/7 on every campus. We are open 24/7 at Washington Family and with our Ford students. That's the women and children in the men's program. At the main outreach center, we do have times we're open and times we're closed. Let me read you the history briefly so you can understand why. For the first 10 years of our existence, from 2000 to 2010, we operated as a day outreach center only. That was it. No emergency shelter services for overnight. That meant you could come during certain hours during the day, and if you had needs, we'd try to help meet them. That was it. When night shelter was added, the hours of 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. were added to our services 7 days a week. With the exception of those who are in a respite shelter, that's available 24/7, moms and kids and students at Forge. Otherwise, those who stay in shelter are able to stay on the premise during the times we're not open. We have an outdoor pavilion where we encourage them to hang out. Last thing we want them to do is go sleep on benches in the community or out in the parks. But they are free to do what they want because we don't employ them. They're not our people. They're our people, right? They're our neighbors. And so what they do when they leave, we can't control. If they break the law, it will affect whether they can stay with us. I can tell you that. And we try to work in cooperation with our police department. Every night, the shelter guest list is sent over to the police so they can see if anybody's got a warrant, they can come get them. We want to work in cooperation with our police department. We greatly appreciate that. Otherwise, we say, look, during the times where we're not open, depending on the day and time, go to church, go to your support groups if you're breaking addictions, continue to seek employment. Now, that all said, if it gets dangerously hot in the summer, I think the heat index 90 above, or in the winter, if the what's the word I'm looking for? Wind chill, thank you, is 20 or below. We open up an additional section for anybody to come in and just stay there just to get out of the elements. Okay, I've addressed the 7. I'm going to give you each a copy. I hope I have enough. And then I've got my business card here as well. Do you have any questions for me before I wrap up?